has won all 6 games in the last matchup. West Virginia State is at home, Brian.
Ooh.
So yeah,
Yikes.
yeah. So it's real interesting. None of these games have been blowouts between these two teams. The largest margin of victory was a 37-24 victory, and by West Virginia State, and the smallest margin of victory by West Virginia during this rivalry was also by West Virginia State, which was a game that was won on a last-second field goal last year, Brian. So this game is really going to be interesting with these two high-powered offenses, Brian. It's going to be whose defense is going to come to play.
All right, so I will. I guess I'm going to go first then, as you sold me with that great stat there about the last 6 meetings and the road team winning those. So I guess I'm going to be forced to kind of ride with the road team. And in this case, since the road team is not West Virginia State, I unfortunately have to go with Urbana, Ohio. Although, what does give me pause, I'm not going to lie, is the fact that West Virginia State has managed to find ways to win over the past, 5 games, especially the fact that they have not beaten any of these teams by over, a touchdown, I think is the number. So this is going to be a close one. I'll go with the road team, since I'll stay with the trend. I'm all about the trend, so I'll go with the road team, I don't know, by a score of maybe 31-30. Who do you got?
Well, Brian, the one thing that's we've mentioned the road teams winning the last 6 matchups between these two teams. West Virginia State has come from behind in 4 of their 5 victories on this particular year. That grit, that grind of having to come from behind from their victory in each of these wins this year shows something to me. And this is a feel-good story, Brian, and I want to continue to feel good about my HBCUs, especially the HBCUs that are playing in a non-traditional conference, which means they're playing I won't say a different level of competition, but they're playing different competition. So I want to see this team get to the playoffs. I want to see this team excel. I'm going to do a Brian Fullfoot here. I'm going to go with my heart probably more than my head.
Oh, wow. Oh, that hurt.
I'm going to take West Virginia State in this one, Brian. And if I don't take West Virginia State, Coach Pennington is probably not going to come back on our show later on this year and talk to us.
Man, that one hurt. That one hurt, AD. All right, so here we go. Here is what you're going to listen to. We're going to share AD's interview with Coach Pennington here, Coach John Pennington in his third season with West Virginia State. The last 2 seasons, 2017 and 2018, they both finished those years 6-5 overall, 5-5 in the conference. So 1 more conference win, and they already have their best record, and 1 more regular season win, and they tied the best mark. So things are looking on the upswing for the Yellow Jackets. I'll get out of the way, let you listen to AD's interview. After the interview, we'll take a break and then come back with our last segment and our final 6 games that we preview for the Week 8 season. And so you're listening to A.D. Drew and head coach John Pennington from West Virginia State University.
Welcome back to the BCSN Sports Wrap. With us on the Versus Sports Simulator hotline is West Virginia State head coach John Pennington. And for those of you all who did not realize that we have an HBCU in West Virginia. Yes, we do. The Yellow Jackets are off to a fantastic 5-1 start. Coach Pennington, since a lot of people are really unfamiliar with you guys because you don't play in one of the 4 traditional HBCU conferences, tell us a little bit about your school and then look more specifically about your program there at West Virginia State.
Yeah, absolutely, and thanks for having me on. Like I said, we're excited to put our program out there. We've taken some strides here recently, and things are starting to look on the upside. So we appreciate you. West Virginia State University is located just outside of Charleston, West Virginia, which is the capital of West Virginia. So we're about 7 miles outside the capital city, right off the interstate. So we got a great location in between Charleston and Huntington, where we're close to a lot of things. The school is probably most well known recently for our alumni, Katherine Johnson, who was the star of the movie Hidden Figures, where the story was about her. And she was a graduate of West Virginia State University. We also have one of our alumni, Earl Lloyd, who was the first African-American to play in the NBA. So we have a rich tradition here at West Virginia State University. And one of the main things that we emphasize here is diversity. We are an HBCU located in West Virginia, which is not a lot of minorities here. So it's a really unique environment here at West Virginia State, where we have a lot of guys. You got some guys from all over the country, some guys from West Virginia, and we have such an awesome culture here with people from different backgrounds, and that's one of the things we celebrate here is our diversity. So you're very right to say that we're not your typical HBCU, not in a HBCU conference, located in a small state, but very, very proud of our tradition and our diversity.
And your program, Coach, talk about your football program there. You're in your 3rd year there, if I remember correctly. You were 6-5 over your first 2 campaigns, respectively. And this season, you have jumped out and kind of taken the world by storm, going 5-1 this year. And that one loss was to FCS opponent, Southeast Missouri State University. So on the Division II level, you're actually 5-0 and 5-0 in conference. So talk about your program there for a brief moment, Coach.
Well, this like you said, this is my 3rd year as the head coach, but I was here 2 years before that as the offensive coordinator. So kind of got here when the building blocks were laid. We got a brand new football facility right when I got here. With locker room, coaches' offices, weight room, that kind of stuff. So the school started to really invest in football and athletics in particular, and things started to change a little bit. We went from 0-11 to I think it was 5-6, then we went 3-8, and then I took over as the head coach, and we continued to build on what we had started. So it started before I became the head coach, and I was fortunate enough and blessed to become the head coach here in my hometown and start continuing to build on what we had started originally. So we just kept continuing to build. We had 2 good pretty good seasons considering our history has not been a winning program, and started to get a culture that was getting used to winning more consistently, and that was the biggest part about that 6-5. The back-to-back 6-5 seasons. It had been a long time since we'd had consecutive winning seasons, but in the off season, and especially during this season, we really challenged our leaders to raise the standard. We want to be an elite football program here. We're not, 6-5 kind of disgusts me and our players. We're not interested in being 6-5, although we're happy with every win we get. We want to be elite, and we want to be a program that is special, that wins championships and develops young men into leaders, and that's really the only thing that's acceptable to us. And so we're not a whole lot better maybe than the past 2 years, but we're a whole lot tougher. We have much better leadership, and our team just does not accept mediocrity. And I think that in the past maybe we did a little bit of that. So